Okay, hello everyone. My name is Assemay Karabayeva, and this is the video presentation of my research paper. So, as you can see, my research topic is improving young learners' attention through the gamification approach. And this is the content of my video presentation. I will talk about the research purpose, research questions, research significance, main concepts of literature review, which was done before my research paper, methodology, which I have used during this research results and findings, and finally, I will talk about conclusion. Let's start from the research purpose. I have two main purposes. First of them is examine and test the hypothesis about the effectiveness of the gamification approach in improving young learners' attention. And the second purpose of this research paper is to compare gamification approach and traditional approach in order to identify the most suitable one in engaging young learners' attention. Here are my research questions. So as you can see, I also have two questions. First of them is, what are the main differences of the gamification approach in engaging young learners' attention than the traditional approach? And the second question is, what are the challenges of using the gamification approach, if there are any? And let's talk about the significance of my paper. So as you can notice from my research questions, the first significance which I want to emphasize is that this research differentiates from others because this research paper tried to find challenges, any drawbacks of the gamification approach, if there are any. So we are looking for not only positive effects, but also for negative effects, if there are any. Because other works which was done about the gamification approach were talking only about their positive impacts, their pluses, advantages, and etc. etc. But my research significance is I will also look for the disadvantages. And as I emphasize it in significance, the main concept of literature review, which was done before my work in this field of work, that there are a lot of works which shows the positive impacts of the gamification approach. Some says that gamification approach works well with young learners because integrating game elements, it's also a good reason to improve young learners' attention, and some researchers prove that, and this is what was done before my work. And if we will talk about the methodology which I have used, I've used both methods, quantitative and qualitative. Why? In order to seek the one picture from different perspectives, from the perspectives of the young learners and from the perspective of teachers. For young learners, I use it quantitative methodology, quantitative research. Why? Because they cannot freely express their opinions, they cannot freely answer to the open-ended questions, so that's why I interviewed them with multiple questions. And for the ESL teachers, I took the qualitative research methodology. Why? Because it is a good opportunity to hear their ideas, their feedbacks about the research process in open-ended questions. So, and now finally, let's talk about the results and findings. My research was experimental, so I divided my students into two groups, control group and experimental group. From both of them, I took pre-test and post-tests. I teach them, ESL teachers, I teach them, for example, past perfect. For one group, they teach with the gamification approach. For a second group, they use traditional approach. This is table 1, provides them results of the controlled group. So the average progress point is 24, and In table 2, you can see the results of the experimental group where was used gamification approach, and there are mean general progress points of the whole group is 37. It's much more higher than the traditional group, than the controlled group where use a traditional approach. And here are the results about the differences of gamification and traditional approach. This is from answers of qualitative research methodology from teachers. They mentioned three main differences of the gamification and traditional. First of them, this gamification approach much more harder. It takes more time and more preparation. Second, gamification approach engagement level of students is higher than the traditional approach, which is very obvious. And the third one, the gamification approach increased creativity and critical thinking of the students more than the traditional approach. So we can see that a gamification approach helps to increase not only attention level, the engagement level, but also creativity and critical thinking. So, and let's talk about the conclusion. As you can see, our main questions was answered. We investigated the differences. We found the main the more important, more useful methodology in order to improve young learners' attention. This is gamification approach. And also here I want to mention about the challenges, about some drawbacks, which made my research paper different from others. Here we found that teachers claim that they noticed during the using gamification approach, if the teacher will not get the balance between joy and study, gamification approach will not work. So it's very hard to keep the golden middle between the joy and knowledge, because some students, they tend to only play game, and some students tend to play study only, so that's why it's a little bit hard. So this is the main challengeable moment of this gamification approach, which we have investigated. So, and about the limitations, this whole process of my research was done by online platforms such as WebEx, Zoom, WhatsApp, and etc. So that's why for further researchers, my notification is to try to use this methodology, this research in non-online atmosphere. Maybe results might have some changes. And that was all about my research paper. Thank you for your attention. I hope that it was useful not only for further teachers, but also for further young learners. So, thank you. Bye bye.